Welcome everyone to this next conversation with Sarah. My name is Sarah Haykel and I am beyond joyous and bubbly that Edie, the Salsa Freak, is with me this morning. Welcome, Edie.
Thank you.
Yes. I have been learning from Edie, studying with her at classes in Colorado, New York City Salsa Congress, and tracking her growth and progress through her business over the past decade, probably more like 12 or 13 years. And I bow.
Oh, please.
I bow to you and just your like master mindfulness way of doing business and just the way that you teach. Everything about you I am continue to learn so much from. So I just am humbly grateful that you're here with us today.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Yes. And I think one of the first things that I noticed when I took a class with you at the New York City Salsa Congress in 2008 was the way that you taught. You kind of had this very holistic approach to instruction, and you talked about all of these things that to me sound more like almost along the lines of like coaching or therapy or personal growth stuff, and how, you know, each person's going to touch each other on the shoulder because the person that's the best in the class will actually help everyone else become better. And like all this stuff, I was like, this is genius. Where did all of this come from?
You know, it's weird that you asked that. It just, I guess I've done it so often and for so long that I've, how can I say, I know that there's healing power in touch. You know, like for example, when you pet a cat, it calms you down. When you hear the purring, it's a relief. When I had dogs, when I would just pet them or I would lay on them, you know how, I don't know, when I was little, I used to just lay on my dog while she was asleep and it would relax me. And so I knew that we as human beings can calm each other down just through a touch. And we can also learn from each other that way too. And I know that we're really spiritual beings having a human experience right now. And I know that we're here in this world to learn something and to move in order to move on to the next. I know that we chose our parents, we chose this century, we chose the date and time that we would be here in order to understand and learn something to move on. And so I figured, okay, in order to get anything in this life, success, happiness, money, love, we have to, it all flows through people. And so I figure, okay, the best way to learn from each other is through actual physical touch, I believe. Wow. And so when you heal with touch, you can learn through touch, you can understand through touch. And so in the boot camps and the classes that I teach, I always do it with touch. When like guys, for example, the hardest thing for them to learn, I think, is dance. Especially, you know, because they can only think of one thing at a time naturally. And girls can think of 7 things at once. You know, we can be on the phone, holding the baby, watching the clock, having a great conversation, nursing the baby, stirring the pot of rice and beans, and petting the dog with our foot at the same time. You know, later on, that's why we need therapy. But the guys, when they're learning to dance, they have to learn to do 6 things at once. So I figure, okay, if we, you know, my boot camps now, I have what's called a man cave, and I have all the girls outside of the cave, and the guys come inside the circle. I'm in the center, and they hold each other on the shoulder, and I say, okay, guys, hold your buddy with your right hand on his shoulder. So all the guys are holding each other. So there's this masculine wave of testosterone-filled energy amongst them. I am in the center, a woman whom they're listening to, taking instructions, learning from her what feels good to a woman. And so they lift their left hand, and I say, okay, look to your left, look to your right. Those are now your teachers. Swing down and up and halo around the angel. And through the vibration of all the men there, they can understand the feeling while they're actually stepping. much sooner, much quicker than any other method that I've seen. And also during the classes, when I say, okay guys, high 10, that stimulation of two hands reinforces the good or the thought process or the learning that they've been through. So now when they turn around, they still place they're still in a circle. Their backs are to me now. They place their right hand on their buddy still as a familiarity, but now they don't see me. They see all the women in that outer circle, and then they do the same thing, swing down and up, halo around the angel. Because I think a man's deepest fear is rejection, and a worse fear is a rejection from a woman. Wow. And so when they're when now their backs are facing me, I'm still in the center. Now it's like I've got their back. You understand? Wow. And so now they're facing the women around them, and not only do I have their back as their confidence to fall back upon, but they now still have each other as buddies, vibrating now with the most terrifying species on earth, the female, okay? And now I say, okay, ladies, come to your man, hold him. And they go swing down and up, halo around the angel. And when they actually put the halo around the angel, they give each other a little push to the right, and that forces them to step right instead of back, so that they can execute doubles and triples later on. So instead of stepping back, so we kill a lot of, I don't like to say that, we do a lot of things at one time with the guys, because if you think about it, it's really hard for a guy to coordinate not only his feet, stay on time, listen to instruction, be on the beat of the music, and coordinate how hard or how soft to execute these moves against a woman's body. I mean, that is a lot of pressure on a guy. Mm-hmm. And when I do boot camps, all these guys are in this same muck together, and they say, okay, guys, let's do this, high 10, and it's awesome. And I've realized that through an 8-hour day, as the instructor, I used to give it 100% of everything that I do, and I would be exhausted by the end of the 8-hour day, teaching all these, 80 people in a room. My largest boot camp ever I taught by myself was 145 people in one room. Wow. And I thought, by the end of the day, when I used to do that, I couldn't even stand up. Mm-hmm. But now that I've learned to use the energy from the people themselves with the high 10 and the energy. Oh my gosh, I have more energy than they do at the end of the day, and they have more energy at the end of the day. It's awesome to be able to take this energy and keep it flowing and flowing throughout the day, and also to tell stories while you're teaching. I think any good teacher is a great storyteller. So when you talk about relationships, when you talk about how the hands are being held, instead of pressing down with your thumb and being, really aggressive, you want to give her the option of holding on to you. If she lets go, it's her prerogative. But if you give her the option, she's going to actually hold on more, and she's going to be more aware. Versus if you press down, she's going to let go. You understand what I'm saying? So her hands are going to open, versus when you just open, her hands will cling on more. So it's almost like a relationship. And I talk about the man cave, to where his hands will go in between the palm here. Every woman needs a man to have his space. Every man needs that space, but she is providing that cave for him to flow freely. Wow. Versus her hands being so hard on him that he can't even let go. Right. She needs to have these, I call them shopping cart arms, this space here, and this is what I call command central. When he can actually push against her palm, she can feel that she needs to step back, and that will create a good frame for her as well. And she can feel when he needs to pull her. And so it's like, for example, when I say, guys, try to keep your pinky down, because there's millions of nerve endings at the tips of her fingers here, and she can feel that pulse. So when you have your pinky up, guys, and her fingers are down like this, and she cannot feel your pinky in the lead, you're missing out on a quality lead, because those millions of nerve endings at her fingertips are going to communicate through your pinky, gentlemen. And now you'll be able to feel. She will be able to read your mind better. Because a lot of guys lead with only one finger, or, think that they're being cool. Actually, they can only be cool with the women that they've been dancing with in their same city for years. You take those same guys and put them on a cruise ship, or you put them in another country or in another state, and they try to lead the same way, it won't work. So when I tell the guys, let her feel your pinky, your pinky, gentlemen, attaches to her fingertips, you will be shocked and amazed how much better of a communicator you are. And so going back to your original question, working with the vibration of the people in the room, when you're with your partner, when you work with the vibration of the pinky, it's amazing, how you can communicate and how much better things will flow when there's that element of touch.
Well, and I am just getting a sense, just even about that little detail, the pinky, and it's almost like bringing it all back in to the fold so that we can utilize our whole selves to be of service on the dance floor, off the dance floor, in relationship to others. I'm just like floored here by what you're saying, and something really spoke to me about the energy. You said, when I first started teaching, I was exhausted after an 8-hour boot camp. Then I realized how to use the energy of the room, and their energy just allowed them to use their energy, and then we all felt more energized at the end of the day. Can you talk about how did you discover that, and what do you mean by that?
I think people are, we're always behind our computers now. I'm American, right? And I was in the aerospace industry, and we were always behind our computers. And when you work around engineers a lot, they're very Spock-minded, Mr. Spock on Star Trek, or Captain Kirk. They're not touchy-feely types at all. And I realized that I wasn't touching anyone, and my husband at the time was always gone. He was, 2 months out of town here, 3 weeks out of town there, and I started gaining weight. And I thought, why am I gaining weight? I'm running every day. I don't think I'm eating anymore. And when I discovered salsa, I realized that just touching another human being on a daily basis was helping me get the weight off. And I thought, I'm not changing my eating habits. I'm not doing anything different. I am just touching people. And so I realized in the aerospace industry, a lot of these people are miserable. I had allergies and asthma. They were always coughing, calling in sick. And I'm thinking, wow, as soon as I discovered salsa, I got rid of all my allergies that I'd had for years. No more asthma. I didn't need my breather anymore. I started losing weight, just not even trying. And I was more happy at my job. And I thought, what is the difference? The difference is that I'm dancing and I'm touching, well, wait a minute. Instead of one man I'm getting to touch once a month, I am touching 25 men in one night. What a great weight loss program, And I'm thinking, this is awesome. And I was more happy. I got a 20% raise. I would say the first 2 months that I started dancing, I became a happier person, maybe because I wasn't getting enough sleep and I was half asleep during the day. But I thought, wow, I am touching 25 men per night. What woman in her 30s can say that right now in this day and age? And so then when I started traveling to Europe, I noticed that the women over there are in much better shape, and people overall were more healthy than Americans. And I noticed that they're always touching, and they kiss on the cheek, mwah, mwah. In Switzerland, they kiss 3 times, mwah, mwah, mwah. And the girls over there are really in shape, okay? Okay, there has to be some sort of connection here between human touch that they do all over the world and America, where if you touch me and I'm a germaphobe, which was created here in the United States, only touch me with with some gloves and, oh, let me wash my hands and sterilize after I touch you. And it's those germaphobes that have the worst problems and the worst sniffles and allergies than anybody else. And germaphobes only exist in the United States, so far that I've seen. And so when I decided, okay, I want to apply this to dancing, what I do in my class now is this. As I say, on the left shoulder blade, on the right shoulder blade, gentlemen, you have the furthest shoulder blade that you're going to put your hand. Let's call that target B. And the closest shoulder blade is target A. I want you to feel target A and target B. So, for example, if I'm teaching a rotating crossbody lead, you have to target B. And I say, gentlemen, take your right hand and target B on that furthest shoulder blade of hers so she's close. And I want you to take your hand and put it on target B. Now, turn her body to where her head, the back of her head, is right in front of you. Now, take your right hand, put it on target B. Take your left hand to put it on target A. Take your thumbs, place them in between the shoulder blade and the spine up by her neck. And now just start rubbing and pushing. Now, this is a dance class, right? And I say, ladies, what do you think of this? And the guys are ending up giving her a massage, you know. And so it's a wonderful thing to be able to play with touch, you know. Another thing that I've noticed is that massage therapists, when I meet them, the first thing they want to do is give me a rub, or the first thing they give me their car. Oh, do you want a little small back rub? This is the way they communicate, you know, because they're so turned on. They realize that instead of, some of them can't communicate very well verbally, so right away they want to start rubbing you, because that is how they convey their love and their appreciation and their warmth towards you. So every massage therapist I've ever met or that I've ever taught right away wants to give me a massage, which is cool, you know.
You know, it's so interesting. I just am loving what you're saying about the touch aspect, because I just recently went up to Toronto for a 5-day workshop with Albir and Sarah, who were world-renowned Kizomba and Bachata instructors, and I had the same experience. It was like, oh my God, every night for 5 days in a row, I am constantly being hugged, and it feels so good. And I think that one of the greatest things is, like, it doesn't have to be sexual. I think in America we're so sexualized around touch, and what I'm hearing you say is touch can be love. You know, it can just be love. And when we're respecting ourselves and each other, and we're really coming from a true place that's balanced with healthy, good, clear intentions, we can have that experience with others. And I'm hearing you really supporting others in this, especially men, like how to touch a woman.
Right.
And
right. And I teach a men's styling workshop every month, and it's funny because I think I'm one of the few women in the world that actually teach men's styling, and it was all by accident that I started. My dance partner was hungover one morning in Paris, and he was supposed to teach a men's styling class. And I didn't want to let the promoter down, so I went over there and I basically taught the class, and I showed men what women want in a lead, how they want to be held, what is overstyling for the man. Should, you know, we get turned off when a man does way too many more spins than we do, okay, by himself. We get turned off when all he wants to do is shines. Okay, and we're just sitting there alone. I didn't learn to salsa dance to learn shines, okay? I learned to salsa dance so that a man could wrap his arms around my body, and he could take me into the music with him. This is one thing that I do have. I was kind of disappointed when I started dancing in New York. I lived in New York for a while, and I realized, wow, I need to learn how to do some shines, you know. And what was fascinating is as I looked on the scale, and I gained 5 pounds. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, why am I gaining weight? And I realized that I was feeling insecure because I didn't know how to do shines. The guys weren't touching me as much. In fact, when they would push me out to do shines for 50% of the song, I was thinking that there was something wrong with my following, and I wasn't a good enough dancer. They didn't want to touch me. They just wanted to do stuff on their own. And I had a heart-to-heart one night with one of these guys, and I said, why is it that the New Yorkers want to do 50% of the song in shines? And they said, well, we figure that you ladies want your space. And I said, I don't want my space. I want to be in your space. I want to be in your egg frame. I want to be touched. I want to be held. And when he found that out about me, he kept me the whole time. It was wonderful, you know. But I think the guys have misconceptions about women. And if they would just sit down and talk to the woman, then, you know, then maybe they would understand that, okay, this woman doesn't want to be touched. She wants to be left alone. I'll just leave her in shines. And these women don't. And it's really hard these days to figure out what women want. So I made a DVD called What Women Want. and it's a DVD.
Amen, hallelujah.
It's an e-study guide. And it accompanies an e-study guide, and it was around my workshop telling guys, this is how we want to be asked to dance. You know, this is how we want you to feel out there. We want you to have a nice big frame. We don't like guys that are creepy and smash their biceps here and lead us with their fingertips and hold us. You know, we want to have a nice space within you. You know, and so I go over this whole thing on exactly what we want and how we want to be hugged and held. We don't like your fingertips digging into our lungs. You know, we want you to smile at us, and so I go into really detail from asking a woman to dance, to take her around the floor, to looking at her up and down, and then smiling with approval, and then going on, you know. And so in that DVD, it's very, very clear. And the men's styling workshops that I teach are packed because guys finally understand that women are not that complicated. And they finally understand that all we want is a fantasy for 3 minutes. You are our prince, and we are your princess, and you're going to take us to this fantasy land, and afterward, thank you very much, I'm going to go to the next guy, you know? And guys think, wow, you know what, should I really play around one day and get on one knee and ask her to dance? Yes, by God, you should. You know, why not? It'll be fun. I want to be treated like a little princess for 3 minutes, because all day we play the man. In the morning we wake up, you know, we do exactly what men have to do anymore. We put on the pants. We have to pump our own gas. The only thing different is we put on makeup. Pretty much everything else is the same as a guy. It's worse because we don't get pockets to put stuff in. We have to have a purse or something else, you know. When we're at the club, guys have this nice breast pocket. God forbid we find something that has a breast pocket, right? We have to have everything external, and so it's funny when guys think, oh no, she's a liberated woman. You know, I don't know what women want anymore. It was so sad at one of my boot camps in Florida I did back in 2007, I believe. This man, usually during the boot camp, I show men what women want, and women are in agreement. I say, ladies, am I right, am I wrong? Tell me the truth. And they always say, yes, you're right. We only want a fantasy. We would love it if a guy would just be chivalrous. We love it when a guy takes us away. And the guys sit there in amazement. They think that it's all about the moves and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They don't realize that we want to be dipped in the middle of a song in addition to the end of the song. You know, why just save the dip till the end of the song? And some guys are afraid of dipping women because they're afraid of hurting our necks. Are you kidding me? If we're afraid of hurting our necks, we'll just turn to the left or turn to the side. Dip us, dip us, dip us. You know, we love to be dipped. And if we don't love it, we'll let you know. And 9 times out of 10, women love to be dipped. And so a guy came out after the boot camp, and he said, you know what, Edie, everything that you said about women because I talk about the three elements of water and how the man is the rock and the woman is the steam, the water and the ice. And that's a whole other story. But he said, you know, I'm about ready. Next week, he goes, I am moving to Costa Rica. Wow. And he took this boot camp to learn salsa, right?
Wow.
And he goes, I am moving to Costa Rica. And you want to know why I'm moving? And he was a gentleman, I would say, in his 50s, early 50s. And I said, why are you moving? And he goes, because the women in the United States do not know what the hell they want. And he goes, they don't know how to treat a man. They don't know how to act. They're confused, he said. He said, the past 3 women that I've dated have all turned out to be men, meaning they wear a man coat and they have this brick wall. And because of such and such and such and such, I'm going to, you're going to have to suffer the consequences because of all these other guys that I've been through.
Wow.
And he said he can't take it anymore. And he said that the only women that have actually been ladies or real women, meaning in his eyes, women that love themselves, accept themselves in their own skin, and really love to be women, are non-Americans, he said.
You know, this is... do you have more? Because I want to jump in here. Because I think
go ahead.
I think this is such an important topic, and a question that came up at the beginning of our talk was, how do you personally find the balance between the masculine and the feminine? And what I find is that's what you're supporting your students in doing, because there is that flow, like the rock and the water. It's like sometimes the woman is the rock and the man's the water. Sometimes the man is the rock, the woman's the water. So yeah, how do we come into balance through dance and through relationship?
Well, let me go ahead and tell you that story. It's very short. What I do in all of my beginner classes, part of the black belt system, is we have what we call story time. And this particular story is the man is the rock in the dance relationship. And in the dance relationship is very, very similar to life, okay? The man is the rock. The woman is 3 elements of water. She is the steam.